Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to our friends out west. I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar. In this session, you will learn about why identity is a new security perimeter and why it's essential that you secure your privileged accounts, really a hacker's top target for getting inside your organization and getting access to your mission-critical assets. With phishing attacks accounting for 80% of business compromises, it's necessary that you double down on privileged access management to secure your enterprise. So, this is Jeff Fowler. I'll be your host today, and I'm also a senior federal cloud strategist for Planet Technologies. And then joining me today is Katie McCroskey. She is the Director of Knowledge Management and Partner Training at Thycotic. With over 9 years of experience, she's a privileged account management subject matter expert. You want to say hello, Katie?
Yes, hi, Jeff. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, thank you for joining. All right, so quick over the agenda, quick welcome here and introducing ourselves. I'm going to talk briefly about our overview of our partnership with Thycotic, and then Katie will present an overview of who Thycotic is, what they do, what they create, and why they're such a great partner of ours. And then from there, we'll go into the Q&A. We do have a Q&A portion on the side, so if you have any questions, please submit those, and then we will answer them live during the Q&A at the end. All right, so from a partnership perspective, why Planet and Thycotic? So in 2017, Planet Technologies made a strategic investment in time and resources in partnering with our great friends at Thycotic, who've built the #1 ranked Gartner privileged account management solutions in the market today. And as mentioned earlier, identity has become the focal point for attackers, either external or internal. And we want to make sure we have the best holistic solution to help customers secure all privileged and critical accounts, both on-prem and in the cloud. So we decided to partner with Thycotic for these and many other reasons, and Katie will help illustrate many of those here in a little bit as well. But with Thycotic's industry-leading cybersecurity products and services and our 20 years delivering professional services engagements to our customers, it's really been a great partnership that continues to grow. So with that, I'll hand it over to Katie, and she can fill you in on all things Thycotic.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate the intro. Okay, going to advance the slides. Before we jump into why privilege, I wanted to kind of start off with a quick intro about Thycotic. Not so sure how many folks on the phone have actually heard of us or may not be familiar with our solutions and what we focus on. So I wanted to start here, a little bit about the company. Oh, looks like I skipped ahead too many slides, guys. I'm sorry about that. Jeff, you see Thycotic intro? Perfect. Okay, hopefully everybody can see this Thycotic introduction slide. Now, like Jeff mentioned, I've been with Thycotic for almost 10 years. I have a lot of experience in the industry. When we first started off, we were 50 people, very small amount of customers. Very proud to say that we are now at over 10,000 organizations globally using our product and have continued to grow at an astronomical rate, almost 60% year over year. Very happy customers. We're very proud of our NPS score, 60, which some of you may or may not know. This is significantly above the industry average. We have 96% renewal every year. So, growing organization, lots and lots of global presence, and truly happy customers. Now, if you think about, what you may have heard related to Thycotic, most people are familiar with the concept of, well, our software is easy to use, it's easy to install, it's easy to implement, but Thycotic is also a strong innovator in this space. So like I said, I've been with the organization for almost 10 years. When I first started, we had a cloud version of Secret Server. Ever since then, we've been focused on really listening to the market, listening to our customers, focusing on delivering quality products that are going to provide value, not only from a security and compliance perspective, but also an automation perspective. We recently introduced a new solution, Privilege Manager, into the Thycotic tool belt. Very proud to say that that solution is #1 in terms of scalability on the market. We're going to talk a little bit later in the session today about some of the competition we see and really what distinguishes us as a vendor, but definitely want to point out that, our products are top notch in terms of innovation as well as scalability. A lot of what we are doing within the organizations is helping them protect against internal and external threats, helping them meet industry best practices and compliance mandates, as well as scaling processes, automating processes to bring organizational efficiency, give IT some of their time back. Now, if I look, historically at what we've been doing in the future of Thycotic, the emphasis is really on the cloud. So as I mentioned, for almost a decade, we've had a cloud product. We're very proud to say that Secret Server Cloud and Secret Server on-premise match feature to feature, full feature parity between the two options. We're also in the process of, looking further into the cloud development around Privilege Manager, our Privilege Manager solution today, which helps organizations focus on endpoint and application privileges, coming soon in the cloud. We're also looking at the overall identity and access management provisioning process for these non-human accounts, these privileged accounts, and what we can do to help our customers really control that, from cradle to grave in terms of life cycle management, again, for privileged accounts, non-human accounts. DevOps is absolutely a topic that we discuss a lot with our customers as well. More and more organizations are concerned with the security of their DevOps environments. They're thinking specifically about privilege access into these environments and the security concerns and compliance concerns as well that come with that. So we are also in the process of developing a lightweight DevOps tool that heavily plugs into Jenkins and Puppet and some of the other heavily used DevOps solutions. If I give you, highlighted list of all the different industries and verticals that we work with. Like I said, 10,000 organizations worldwide. I couldn't fit all the logos on the slide today, but hopefully this gives you a good idea of some of the main industries and verticals that we're working with. Now, again, one of the distinguishing factors about Thycotic overall in the industry is that we really play well across all the different verticals as well as all different sized organizations. So, whether it's small to medium-sized organization or a global enterprise, we can meet not only the functional requirements, but also the budgetary considerations of all those different sized organizations. Now that we kind of have looked at, who are Thycotic and what are we doing, I want to talk a little bit about why focus on privilege. So Jeff mentioned Gartner at the beginning, and I just want to play a little bit more into that. Gartner has addressed these top 6 security concerns, and Thycotic addresses 4 out of the top 6. So privilege account management, anti-phishing, application control, and detection and response. And this really goes across all of our various products at Thycotic. So if we think about, our focus, Secret Server, our core product, is really focused on that top bullet, right? Helping organizations address privilege accounts in their environment and making sure that those are secure. If we think about Privilege Manager, then we're talking number 3 and number 4, right? So we're talking more about anti-phishing through application control and preventing any types of nasty malware, ransomware, things like that getting into the system. And of course, detection and response. So, if a hacker does get in, if somebody has breached a perimeter and is looking to exploit privilege account access, that's where the criticality behind detection and response really come into play. People need to have visibility into these sensitive systems, behavioral analysis to really see what their folks are doing every day so that they can immediately identify any type of anomalous user behavior and respond accordingly. So if we think about, the threat. So again, Jeff kind of mentioned this, but I want to sorry about this, guys. I'm having problems with my mouse today, I guess. I want to talk about some stats and facts. One of the things I've seen in the industry for 10 years is this first stat: 80% of breaches involve privileged accounts. This number really does not change. Unfortunately, there are a lot of organizations that are still, not addressing this issue. Maybe they're using KeyPass or Excel or, have some sort of homegrown solution that they're using internally. But privileged account access is the difference between a simple perimeter breach and a catastrophic organizational breach. And that really takes me to my second point. Most folks, they get hit on the endpoints, the weak link, the business users, right? The sales guys, the marketing guys, finance is also a big target. Unfortunately, if I click a link or open an attachment, if I have an unmanaged local administrative account right there on that desktop or laptop, that's going to be my first point of pivot as a hacker. Right. So again, I go from having sales guy permissions or marketing guys permissions to pivoting to local admin privilege. As a hacker, right, that's how I've opened the door. That's how I've taken that breach from a perimeter breach to potentially the catastrophic organizational breach. Now, when we think about, the costs associated with a cyber attack, this is really going to be dependent on the size of the organization, what type of industry they're in, also the nature of the breach, the size of the breach. But one of the things I want you guys to think about is the investment that you've made into your infrastructure. So if you think about, all the money you've invested into firewalls, all of the money that you've invested into various security solutions, whether it's, network response, data loss protection, and so on. And not to mention all your networking equipment, your servers, your routers, your switches, everything has a privileged account on it. Every single piece of hardware that you have in your network has a privileged account that is being targeted constantly by hackers. So what type of investment have you made into securing that? And that's a big issue for a lot of organizations that we talk with. And that's why we strongly recommend PAM as a great way to reducing the cost of cyber attacks, right? Making sure that you're closing all those loopholes in your security and properly thinking about security and through all your different investments, right? From an infrastructure perspective. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump along to why Thycotic. If we think about Secret Server, both on-prem and cloud, fully functional enterprise offerings. At its most basic level, Secret Server is a vault used to securely store and delegate access to privileged accounts. But that's not really why customers choose Thycotic, right? It's so much more than a vault with its active PAM capabilities. And when I say active PAM, I want to start off with this discovery. 4 to 5 privileged accounts exist in your organization for every 1 employee, right? So as the numbers get larger, you can think about the scope of trying to manage that problem. Most folks do not have a good grasp with where all their privileged accounts exist in their network, let alone actively managing and securing those passwords. And that's where Secret Server starts, with our ability to look into your network, look into the environment, and discover, find all your privileged accounts. That's really when we start to actively manage. So when I say actively manage, I'm referring to things like password rotation. Most organizations are going to be, concerned with security and industry best practices. They know that changing the password is important, but they don't want it to be a manual process. They don't want it to be a tedious process that's going to drag down their IT efficiencies. And again, that's where Secret Server comes in. We have the ability to automate this process across all of your platforms, whether that's on-prem, whether that's SaaS solutions, whether that's legacy, custom software. We can really support all your different platforms. One of the best things about Secret Server is it's flexible. It has the ability to store anything. Secrets can be so much more than usernames and passwords. We have lots of customers that leverage the Vault capabilities for SSH key management, for really any type of sensitive documentation that would be owned or managed by IT operations or IT security. Another big capability that we bring with Secret Server's feature function is the ability to implement and customize process control within the IT department. So for example, requesting access to sensitive systems, making sure that you're empowering contractors and consultants when they need the sensitive system access, but not unlimited, not unrestricted, not unauditable access. And again, this is where Secret Server comes in with the ability to empower folks with that sensitive system access in a way that is controlled, in a way that is auditable, where you can provide attestation around compliance and make sure that you're delivering on all of your industry-specific mandates. Now, Secret Server, as I'm sure you can imagine, with a robust security tool, you're going to have full audit, full reporting, really the ability to slice and dice the data any way you want. But we also can monitor sessions. So this is, again, is another advanced layer of protection inside your sensitive systems. Once folks are on that HIPAA server, once they are inside that domain controller, what are you doing to monitor that access to ensure that people aren't making any simple mistakes or going into those systems with malicious intent? So if we think about Secret Server, right, and protecting against those privileged accounts, now move to Privilege Manager. And helping organizations protect against endpoint and application privileges. Again, let me paint this picture for you. It's the end of the quarter and your sales guy gets an email. It's from, a .biz instead of a .com email address, and they don't quite notice that. Maybe it's related to a big sale that they're expecting to come in. So they open that attachment and boom, some nasty malware, some nasty ransomware is now executing on your machine, right? This is how they get in, right? This is how the perimeter is breached. And so Privilege Manager helps that exact problem, right? Do not let that application execute. The first step is through local security. So Privilege Manager is an agent-based architecture. You do need to deploy an agent on all of your Windows desktops and laptops, Windows servers, as well as your Mac machines. And essentially what we're doing is we're controlling all aspects of local administrative accounts. This would be your local group members. We're particularly paying attention to any local groups that can elevate permissions on that machine and really just hardening all aspects of that local machine. The next step, once we have complete control over local administrative privileges, is application control. Again, this takes a basic step, right? We identify what is the application that's trying to execute on my machine. Do I have a policy, a contextual policy that then addresses that application? So for example, Adobe, PDF reader. Most folks are going to need a PDF reader across their desktops and laptops, but there's absolutely no legitimate business reason why you would put a PDF reader on a server, right? So you have these contextual policies that can define how these applications work on your systems. And the next step, right, so once I know the application and once I have a policy that's addressing that application, again, it dictates how that application can work on your machine, on your sensitive systems. Is it allowed to execute with full privileges? Does it maybe run with limited privileges? Do we test it in isolation and move it into a sandbox environment to watch that application execute and see if it has any malicious intent? We have full workflow capabilities, so you give the IT folks the ability to approve or deny access to unknown applications. We have a whitelist and a blacklist, which again allows organizations to seamlessly roll out that least privilege approach, right? You have your defined whitelist, you have your defined blacklist, right? That takes away some of the burden from the help desk when they're getting all these calls. Well, all of a sudden I can't connect to my printer. All of a sudden I can't install Adobe, right? So again, helping organizations implement that least privilege approach by empowering their users through application control. Let's see if I can get the slide to actually work. Okay, it worked. So now we have privilege behavioral analytics, guys, and this brings us to the last aspect of privilege that Thycotic is focused on, right? Your privileged users, those folks that do have the most sensitive system access. Now here we're using machine learning, okay? And what we're doing is we're watching your privileged users, your secret server users, to build behavior baselines on what their daily activity looks like. Why? Well, we want to be able to detect anomalous behavior, right? So again, if we think back to that Gartner slide, this is where we're talking detection and response. So if you think about most people, they come into the office, they get their coffee, they sit down at their workstation. They basically do the same types of things every single day, right? And again, that's where privileged behavioral analytics comes in. It's watching the behavior of your privileged users to be able to instantaneously detect and identify any type of anomalous behavior. Now, one of the best things about privileged behavioral analytics, it's not just watching. It's not just looking. It can also actively defend. So privileged behavioral analytics has detected any type of anomalous behavior. It can go through these active access challenges. So essentially what we're doing is we can say to a privileged user, you're logged out, right? I'm just kicking you out of the system. If they're an actual legitimate user, then they can go through multi-factor authentication, prove they are who they say they are, and get back into the system. Maybe that's not enough. Maybe the logout process isn't enough. Maybe we want to actually lock them out of systems. That's another active defense that PBA can provide. We can also implement additional workflows around requests for access for particularly sensitive systems, and so on and so on. Now, when we think about what are some of the competitive advantages that Thycotic brings to the space, the reality is everything you heard is true. The software is very easy to use. It's very easy to install. It's easy to implement. This slide right here is talking about 30 seconds to download. You can literally go to our website today and download a trial of our software, stand it up, start playing with it, right? Testing the software, thinking about those vital security and compliance concerns that your organization has related to privilege and how we can address those. Most of our customers are up and running in 3 days, right? Are actively discovering accounts, actively securing accounts, right? Seeing value from the solution on day one. And Thycotic's customers typically spend 30% less on our solution and implementation compared to some of the other enterprise PAM vendors we see in this space. Now, it's a little cheesy, right? Sometimes I joke this is Thycotic's rule of threes, the same way everybody knows about the rule of 5 nines. It's a little cheesy. Anyways, moving along. It's clicking, guys. It's really causing me challenges today. I'm not quite sure why. Okay. So again, if we think about why Thycotic is better in the industry, I want to talk about our ability to bring customization and configurations to the customers, right? So one of the things we do really well is that balance between security and convenience. We want our tools to be easy to use, easy to install, and easy to configure. One size truly does not fit all nowadays. Organizations have their own security policies, their own practices, their own procedures. And the nice thing about Thycotic and our solutions is the flexibility that we bring to really make our solutions adapt to your environment, to your needs, to your compliance requirements. Thycotic also is all about empowerment. So like I said, we have 10,000 customers globally, right? We really go out of our way to make sure our customers are informed, not only from a documentation perspective, from a training perspective, from a professional services perspective, right? We go out of our way to make sure that our customers are educated on the security solutions and the benefits that Thycotic brings, right? And have the resources available and empowerment to make those customized configuration changes, right? So, out of the box, we support a variety of different platforms for automatic password changing. But again, if a customer is using a SaaS solution, or maybe you guys have legacy stuff or custom stuff, right? That's all possible using our solution without additional professional services, without code changes, without major changes to the solution. We've already kind of talked about, the investment that organizations make in their IT network, in their IT infrastructure, in their IT security. And again, strongest ROI, making sure that you can, validate the security of that investment, right? So we've spent a lot of money on all these routers, on all these switches, networking equipment, firewalls, servers, workstations, right? I am confident that all of that is locked down and secure. Every single key into every single one of those boxes is now secured using Thycotic solutions. And again, that's going to bring a lot of peace of mind, a lot of value to the organization, knowing that those systems are locked down and controlled. But don't take my word for it. So definitely check out the Gartner peer reviews. We are the most well-known, well-recommended solution on the Gartner peer reviews. Our customers have gone out of their way to provide a lot of feedback. So we not only have the most reviews, but we have the most positive ratings. Definitely encourage you guys to kind of look at some of those, read through the details. It's one thing that the vendor talks about it and says how great we are, but it's really much more powerful if you guys get into this, have a look, listen to what our customers are saying, and then of course come back to myself or Planet if you guys have any types of questions or anything related to Thycotic.
All right, thank you, Katie. Definitely appreciate the overview of Thycotic's products and services. And thank you all for attending. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A pod. I've received some other ones on the side, so I'll run through some of those questions. One question is, can you give me an example of what exactly discovery is that you mentioned earlier, just in terms of an overview of how that functions and how that helps us? So when working with our clients through discovery itself within Secret Server, what Secret Server is able to do is it can actually search across your Active Directory environment, look for all your OUs, look for all of the user accounts and machines within those OUs, and from there start identifying all of the local accounts and all those machines it finds. And it's not just limited to Active Directory. I know several customers out there in the world. Obviously, not everyone uses a pure Microsoft solution. This is where this comes into play, where it can actually search across your networks and your subnets and find your Unix and Linux machines, find your ZOS mainframes, as one of my customers have. Look across your VMware environment, looking across all of your appliances. And this includes both on-prem and in the cloud, so it's not limited to just your on-prem system. So it's a hugely flexible tool to help you find all the things you may not be aware of across your network. And then leveraging things such as Privilege Manager, being able to dictate which accounts are allowed to be admins or not across all of your servers and workstations and devices across your network. So it's really a huge advantage to have that capability in hand. And not to mention, once you find all the things on your network, the ability to actually have rules in place that says, hey, I use a standard image for all of my workstations and my servers. Whenever they get built out, they have a standard username and password. Obviously, that's a security risk. You don't want your admins to know the one account to get into all of your systems across your entire network. And what Secret Server can actually do is, with discovery rules, it can actually import all those accounts once it's found with a simple rule that says, hey, whenever I find a new server in the network and it has this local admin account and it's running server 2016, automatically import that account into Secret Server, rotate the password, and make it a managed secret within Secret Server within this folder that only certain people have access to it. So it really is a great tool to have in place with the automation to make your jobs a lot easier so that you no longer have to manage the day-to-day administrivia type stuff. And that way your admins can focus on securing your environment and making sure that the business and mission critical applications are up and running. Let's see. Katie, did you receive any questions on the side?
I did not, although I just saw a question pop through. Can Thycotic PAM solution integrate with and support modern DevOps environments that require high degree of automation and are typically implemented using open source components like Chef, Jenkins, Puppet, etc.? Jeff, did you want to address that or you want me to step in?
I'll let you take that one.
Okay, so the answer is yes, absolutely. In fact, we have a API called SDK, which stands for Software Developer Kit, and that is designed exactly for that use case, right? So to help organizations secure those DevOps environments, making sure they're not hard coding or embedding passwords in any type of test builds, prod builds, code environments, scripts, config files, and so on and so on. So how we do that is we leverage tokenization and make sure that the password is actually stored in the vault, leveraging communication over the API when that password is needed for that config file or that script. And absolutely, we integrate with all the main tools, and we are continuing to add integration partners as we continue to grow that feature functionality.
Yeah, and this really is a game changer for a lot of customers, having that ability to automate so many things across the board. And not to mention, in a similar use case, we have many customers that say, hey, my developers are driving me crazy. They keep hard coding credentials into their applications, into scripts and things like that. And they say, well, how can Secret Server help me? And the great thing is it actually can, because as she mentioned a moment ago, with the tokenization, basically you can have basically an application API account that has the ability to you reach into Secret Server, grab a credentials from Secret Server, pass along an encrypted token that says this system is allowed to run using these credentials for this period of time. Then it goes through and executes the script or the application, where you can actually rewrite, just 2 lines or maybe 3 lines in your application to reference Secret Server, reference that access token API account, and go ahead and execute it. So you no longer have to hard code anything into your applications, which inherently really raises the bar to increase your security posture as an organization. Let's see, looks like we have another question in regards to does Thycotic PAM include ability to implement complex workflows? With example, credential, check-in, check-out, enable, disable privileged accounts, and dynamically add group memberships. Quick answer is yes. Longer answer is there's a lot of great scenarios where, let's say, Joe, the admin, wants to go ahead and do some maintenance during the day. And that may not necessarily be a great idea because, for example, if Joe wants to go tear down DNS in the middle of the day, that's obviously going to cause a lot of havoc across your enterprise. So instead, within Secret Server, there's a concept of the access workflows, so that when Joe wants to access a credential that has the admin rights, such as a domain admin, for example, to actually do that kind of work, they actually have to get approval and go through a workflow process where it goes to Mary, for example, has his manager. And Mary, of course, can look at the request and say, no, Joe, you can't take down all of DNS today from noon to 5 p.m. How about instead you actually do that during our regular maintenance window on Saturday night from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. And Joe, of course, is disappointed he can't do this work immediately, but it protects the business and only allows him access through Secret Server itself, access to that secret credential only during that maintenance window for that period of time as part of the approval process. And in a similar way with the check-in and check-out process, let's say you have a shared account that can only be used by one person at a time. Let's say your marketing department, for example, needs access to the Twitter account for the organization, which is obviously with reputation being so critically important for organizations these days, you want to make sure that accounts such as your Twitter account doesn't fall into the wrong hands. So you can actually store that within Secret Server, check out that account for say 30 minutes, a brief period of time, gain access to credentials, log into Twitter, send out the tweet you want to send out, and then when you check the account back in, it's locked and is available for someone else to use it later after that. Other great features include upon check-in, rotate a password. Let's say your admin accounts. You don't want to have, in a pass the hash attack kind of scenario, you don't want the hash of those credentials just lingering across your network. So instead, what you can do to stop the hackers from getting access to those hashes and raising and elevating their rights on their account, you can actually, upon check-in of that account, automatically rotate the password and thus making that hash totally invalid across your network, which is a huge advantage for you. Let's see. Looks like, I think, another question. Katie, I'll let you take this one. What is a preferred method for implementing custom discovery, workflows, and other customizations? PowerShell is a preferred scripting language for Windows and increasingly even Linux environments. Is it supported?
So yes, PowerShell is, powerful scripting language in the Windows framework, and that's actually what a lot of our custom configurations are done. So extensible discovery, custom password rotation, things like that. But we support SQL scripting as well, and actually any type of scripts that are executed over SSH. So you're not limited to just PowerShell.
All right, any other questions out there? All right, looks like that's it for today. Actually, one more. The ability to integrate with SAML-based directory services, Azure AD, and support MFA, multi-factor authentication, as well as single sign-on. Absolutely, yes. Secret Server natively supports both SAML authentication integration for federation for identity services across Okta, across Azure AD, and numerous others. And it also supports radius. So if you have traditional RSA, secure ID tokens, get a keychain full of them, for example, you can actually set it up so that your users must use two-factor or multi-factor authentication to sign into Secret Server, or you can actually leverage single sign-on as well with identity federation and things like that to just make sure people can get in and do what they need to do, but make sure they do it in a secure manner. All right, another question. Katie, you want to take that one?
Sure. The question was around non-Windows systems, Linux, and Secret Server's ability to manage SSH keys. So one of the first things that we recommend customers do is start with extensible discovery. So, if they have an idea of where all those SSH keys are used in their environment, that's a great step. Most folks don't. So leveraging extensible discovery and PowerShell scripting, that's where you're going to want to start finding all of those SSH keys to bring active security management into the vault. Once you find all those SSH keys, Secret Server can actively rotate your SSH keys on demand or schedule changes as with anything else. Not only are we rotating SSH keys, but we can also do SSH command whitelisting. And so this is for organizations that are concerned with what their IT admins are doing on the servers. Maybe they want some super user privilege management and want to get deeper into the controls and segregation of duties for their IT administrators. So that's where the SSH whitelist of commands comes in. It's very easy to build that defined list of known good commands within inside of Secret Server. And then as your folks are launching into these SSH connections, they are limited to that white list of commands. So very robust capabilities around SSH key management as well.
All right, looks like the next question is there ability to record privileged sessions to be integrated with incident management processes? And how strong are the auditing capabilities within privileged account management within Secret Server, for example? So yes, you can record sessions as users go about their day and use Secret Server. So for example, there's a concept of launchers built into Secret Server where you can have, for example, if someone accesses a secret in Secret Server, within that secret itself, it has already has a built-in launcher for, say, PowerShell or PuTTY to accessing your Linux and Unix machines or appliances, or accessing remote desktop, for example. So what happens is whenever someone goes and fires up a launcher, the credentials from that secret actually securely passed into those launchers in encrypted fashion so that users don't even have to know what the password is for a particular account. From there, it launches an RDP session straight to that server, workstation, or whatever you want to connect to remotely. Everything can be collected during those sessions, so that is in twofold approach. One is Secret Server will actually take a snapshot every few seconds during the session itself to create a video for you to see exactly what someone did. This is great for forensics and we're going to see what happened after the fact, but it's also great for troubleshooting because you can see what exactly someone did and what checkbox they may have checked or unchecked by mistake that caused system X to go down for a period of time. So with the administrators have the ability to go back and review those recordings, as well as from a PuTTY session, see exactly what happened on the screen, as well as the full text of that or a PowerShell session in terms of what someone typed, what command and output was sent in and output back from the process during that shell session. So you can actually see exactly what someone does to look over time. Now, from an auditing capability, in addition to the session monitoring, every single thing within Secret Server is actively audited and monitored and managed. So for example, every single radio button click, every single checkbox check and uncheck, every single text entered, every time someone accesses a secret, views a password, uses a launcher, you name it, everything is fully audited. And you do have the capabilities to leverage your existing SIM and other syslog monitoring tools so that you can capture all that information for further analytics as well. So it's not just a pure Secret Server play. It actually can integrate with your existing systems as well for full auditing capabilities. Not to mention with the role-based access control, you have the ability to have an auditor role who can go in there and view the logs and see what people have done over time. Katie, anything else you want to add to that?
Nope.
All right. Any other questions? Definitely a lot of great ones today. All right, looks like that is it for questions for today. Definitely want to thank all of you for attending today's webinar, and thank you, Katie, for joining us and giving a great overview of Thycotic. Definitely appreciate it. If you have any other further questions, feel free to reach out to Katie or myself. We're always happy to answer questions and help you along your path towards securing your enterprise. With that, thank you again and have a great day.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.